Good morning everybody, and welcome back to another weekly recap. Now this week we have a lot to talk about. There was a really interesting poll blog posted for the new Darkmire update, which is going to be coming out later this year. There's a ton of new things here, including a new agility method, a new runecrafting meta perhaps, I don't know, and just a lot of things to have a look at because it will be our second major release of the year. On top of that, we did get another quality of life game update today, which I'm going to be going over. As always, I'll be going over any news related to the old school RuneScape community this week, as well as a quick recap of the weekly Q&A. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, I hope you enjoy, and let's get started. Now first up here, let's have a look at today's game update. It is called Game Improvements and Email Linking for Mobile Accounts. This week we've got changes and fixes for a variety of issues, including a balancing change to Zalcano, a usability change on various treasure trails, and something for Castle Wars as well. Now first up here, there is a quality of life change for melee weapons that also autocast spells. So weapons that autocast spells will now remember which melee combat style you had selected before choosing the spell. That means if you choose the strength option and then choose a spell to autocast, when you run out of runes, the combat style will go back to strength. That's pretty good for one defense pures or other pure accounts. There was a quality of life change to the Dragon Two-Handed Sword, and also players are asked to stop spawning flowers in the Calphite Queen room. She finds the unsolicited attention creepy. I'm assuming when they say asked, they mean they changed it, and you no longer can spawn flowers in the Calphite Queen room. Now, as they mentioned, there's a change to Zalcano. Now that is the damage dealt to Zalcano with Tephra now scales to your smithing and runecrafting levels. So this is going to allow you to do more damage if you have above the bare minimum requirement. So I guess that will put you a step above most of the bots. Also, now the crystal pickaxe will consume charges as it gathers minerals in the volcanic mine. Okay, so there's been a minor change to Castle Wars. The preparation time is now reduced from 5 to 2 minutes, which will allow games to start quicker. And there's also one change to mobile. Now when accounts are created through mobile, they can actually be linked to an email address. This can be done through the linking feature found in the account settings tab and will allow the same account to be used on desktop. That's actually a really huge fix. People have been complaining about that for a while. For example, if a new player started just on mobile and made it through their game account, I forget what it's called, you wouldn't actually be able to use that login information on a desktop. So now you can actually link your account to an email address, which allows you to do that, which I think is a really important change for retaining new players. And that is pretty much it for today's game update, a pretty small update. Okay, so next up here, let's have a look at the new Darkmeyer poll blog, which has some of the same information that was released at RuneFest, but there's a few changes, and we have more information now that goes more in depth on the quest rewards, requirements, and just the content in general. Okay, so primarily this update is focused around a new quest, which is called The Sins of the Father, which is going to be the 5th installment in the Meyerque storyline. In this quest, you're going to help the Meyerque investigate some strange goings on. What the hell is that sentence? Some strange things happening in Mauritania, whilst also preparing for the return of Lord Draken himself. Okay, so the requirements for this quest are a Taste of Hope, Vampire Slayer, as well as there are a few skill requirements which include 62 woodcutting, 60 fletching, 56 crafting, 52 agility, 50 attack, 50 slayer, 49 magic, and 75 runecrafting. Okay, I'm kidding, that's not actually a requirement. Now the actual rewards for completing the quest include 2 quest points, access to Darkmire, which is going to be the main content it unlocks, an improved version of the Avandis Flail, a new Draken Medallion teleport, as well as 3 tomes of experience worth 15,000 each, which everyone knows that's another 45,000 runecrafting experience. Now one of the main components of the new content is some new vampires that are being added. Now these can be killed or pickpocketed. Now the city of Darkmire is split into 3 tiers. Each is going to be home to a different class of vampire. The very first tier contains vampire juveniles and vampire juvenites, which are equivalent to the vampires found in Meriadich and have the same drop table. The second tier contains Virewatch and Elite Virewatch, Vire Lords and Vire Ladies. The Virewatch are the same as those found in Sleep and have identical stats and loot tables. And the third tier has Elite Virewatch, Vire Lords, and Vire Ladies. Now those last 3, which apparently are in the second tier as well, are what have the new drop tables and the new items. So the Vire Lords and Vire Ladies can be pickpocketed with 82 thieving, and it's going to roll on a brand new loot table, which will have the new unique item, which is called the Blood Shard. Now this is an attachment for the Amulet of Fury, and will create a Blood Fury amulet. Now essentially what this does is it adds a lifesteal component to when you have the Fury equipped. When you have the Blood Shard attached to an Amulet of Fury, you will have a 10% chance of healing 10% of the damage done. For example, if you hit a 40, you have a 10% chance of being healed for 4. Now this was actually quite a bit weaker when it was initially proposed, but it's been buffed to a 10% chance of healing 10% of the damage, which is actually pretty good. I think it will have niche uses for Slayer or certain bosses. Now it sounds good, but this item does actually degrade. It will last for 10,000 successful hits, but after 10,000 hits, the Blood Shard will be destroyed, but you will retain your Amulet of Fury so it does not consume it. Okay, so beyond pickpocketing, you can actually just kill Elite Firewatch. They can be killed for an improved loot table which include the Blood Shard, and also count towards Vampire Slayer tasks. Now because of the new content, Vampires will also be included in 2 new Slayer unlocks, which will extend Vampire tasks to between 200 and 250. Okay, so now moving on, there is actually a really interesting new mining / runecrafting training method. Now this is going to involve a new material called Daeyalt deposits. So within the Darkmire mines, players can mine raw Daeyalt if they have at least 60 mining. The deposit can be mined to obtain stackable and untradeable Daeyalt shards that can be converted into untradeable Daeyalt essence. Daeyalt essence can be used anywhere that pure essence can, including ZMI, and when you use it, you're going to get 50% more runecrafting experience than pure essence. With that said, you're not going to get any more runes, and they have noted that training runecrafting through this method will not be substantially better than training it traditionally. Now the trade-off here is obviously the time it takes to mine the new essence, as it's not tradable. You'll have to do it yourself, which will detract from your runecrafting XP rates. And so I think this could be good, and I would consider doing it, trading off runecrafting time for mining. It's not the best trade-off, but I think it's still maybe favorable. And the last main piece of content here is the Hallowed Sepulture. I don't know how to say that. Okay, so this is going to be a new agility training method. It's going to be a high intensity method that is going to require a lot of focus. And there were 5 different levels to this. One at 52 agility, one at 62, 72, 82, and 92. Once a player enters the area, they'll be given a limited amount of time to raid the crypt. The crypt will be filled with tomes hiding stealable items, and you'll also have a rare chance of obtaining a hallowed mark. So the trade-off here is you could try to loot the dungeon or the area, but that is going to reduce your agility experience, which I think is kind of a fun trade-off that we don't really see in too many other pieces of content. So within the Sepulture, there are a few different items that you can find. Now first up here we have the Ring of Endurance. The ring requires 70 agility to equip, and you charge it up with 1000 doses of stamina potion. A charge is consumed when you drink a stamina potion, making the effect of the potion last twice as long. So that's kind of interesting. If you have the ring equipped, you can kind of have your inventory requirement for stamina potions, which could be very useful for questing, or possibly for the new agility content if it requires lots of stamina potions. And last up here, a new item called the Strange Old Lockpick, which is going to be used to bypass the Barrow's doors, which is something people have been asking for quite a while, and this is kind of related content, so I think it's a good idea. Now it only has 50 charges, which means I guess you'll need to go get another one. I'm not sure if there's a way to recharge it. Now also worth noting, the Strange Old Lockpick is tradable when it has full charges, untradable when it doesn't, and the Ring of Endurance is tradable when it has no charges, and when it's charged, it is untradable. Now there is another reward shop that sells items that are useful within the Hallowed Sepulture, but those are not going to have impacts outside of the content. However, there are 2 other items that are acquired here. The Dark Dye, which is used to make any piece of Graceful black. Finally, we're getting it, guys. Looks like you have to obtain 6 different dark dyes to dye each individual piece though. And there's also the Dark Acorn, which can be used on the giant squirrel pet to turn it into a black and red version, which you can see here looks pretty cool. So overall, I am excited to try out the new content. The rewards are, I don't know, a little lackluster to me. Just having 2 recolors, 1 new item, and a few other minor things. I guess the main point here is to have more skilling content, which I'm excited for. I'm definitely going to try out. And I think that probably is the main draw. Okay, so that's pretty much it for content updates this week. Okay, so there's just a few pieces of community news I want to go over here. One thing I've forgotten a lot recently is to go over the Runelight updates. The release 1.6.8 is actually really nice. It just came out today. Okay, so now there's going to be a bank tag search feature on the GE. So if you have set up a bank tag for Zulrah, for example, you can just type tag Zulrah and it's going to show you all of those items there. And there's actually been a change to the GPU plugin, which now includes additional UI scaling options, which can result in clearer images on higher resolution displays. And they've also added a web page with the new plugin hub. Okay, so there's a new proposed Shazian house redesign, which I'm really excited for. I really enjoyed the Hosidius house rework. I think this is being worked on by Mod West, so we did a really good job in the last one. They did show an image in the live stream, so hopefully we can get that pretty soon. Now, unfortunately, another moderator is going to be leaving. That is Mod Gambit, so thank you for all your hard work. And finally here, another player has achieved 200 mil all, and that is a player by the name of Sensei. Another insane achievement. We have 4 players now. That is crazy. Such an insane achievement. And that's pretty much it for community news. Okay, and finally here, I'm going to do a quick recap of the weekly Q&A. Now first up here, do you have any plans on buffing the Nightmare drops? They don't have any future plans. They know that killing it can be a loss in money, but I think it's still pretty good GP per hour when you do get uniques, at least for now. Is there any plans to buff the Hydra tail? They said we could instead look at the things it makes, but they don't really feel like Hydra needs better GP per hour. Is there ever going to be a tier 75 ranged armor to match Justiciar and Ancestral? They said they're keen to do some equipment rebalancing and tier rebalancing, so we don't want to add anything just because there's space for it. Could we see the Siren's Tome come back as a future reward? Now the design initially failed to acknowledge the Arcane, however they would consider going about it if it was an upgrade, so it wouldn't devalue existing items. What are your thoughts on a tap to alch feature or a tap to superheat? They said it seems like more of a buff than they would want. They could lead to some awkward situations where the wrong thing is alched. Their advice is just to use the spellbook filters. Would you consider adding a POH portal to Darkmire, as we do not have one in Mauritania? They said it's a good opportunity. They just added a portal in Privdinus not long ago, so they'll have to look at where it may fit best. And finally, could we get some stats for the Twisted League reward purchase amounts? They said no, they're not going to release it because they don't want to impact the market and trading, and they don't really see that changing in the foreseeable future. Anyway guys, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I would appreciate it if you took the time to leave the video a like, and I will see you next time.